This week, Geo Heath relieves some off-season cabin fever on wild Texas hogs.
Hogs, deer, turkey, everything, they just run back and forth.
Mike Clerkin provides tips for more accurate crossbow shooting.
Here's some of the things you need to think about with crossbow.
And Pat Hogan and James Kroll wrap up this year's Build Your Own Deer Factory project.
It's hard to believe where we are now compared to where we started with this farm.
All of this and more on North American Whitetail Television. Now, here are your hosts, Stan Potts and Pat Hogan.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to North American Whitetail. We're always happy to have you here. And this week we have a great show. Geo Heath is hunting hogs in Texas. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, Stan, and on top of that, Build Your Own Deer Factory this week. We're wrapping up our season-long series. We're finishing our work there in Kentucky. We're going to take a look back at exactly all the stuff we've done.
All right, here we go. Deer season's gone, man. So I reached back out to a good friend of mine, Mike White, back in Texas. Had a great deer hunt in the fall with him and saw a bunch of pigs while I was out there. So thought it'd be a good off-season deal. Get out there, kind of fine-tune everything, have a great hunt, spend some time with my good buddy, and roll out to Texas. Some cool terrain in here, man. You go from these flats, or run out here about 40 yards, just drop off, and it's like little canyons. They just run these valleys, these hogs, deer, turkey, everything. They just run back and forth. We're good. All right, so we're gonna be on about 6,000 acres. Heavily intensive management strategy that Mike does out there for the whitetail. And you know, part of that is getting rid of these pigs. While I was out there in the fall, we just kept seeing all these hogs. He talked about, you know, obviously they rut up the roads. It's hard for tractors to get in there and just keeps messing up the farm. So what a better way to get out there, springtime, weather was right. We had a little rain, a little cold front coming in. Get out there, set up, and bang some pigs. You know, right out of the gate, Mike told me, he said, there's this one particular shelf that we need to make it to that, you know, with the temps kind of being warm that morning, those hogs usually get on that shelf and they'll bed up. Well, man, it's like he wrote the script. We got out there probably about 15, 20 yards in, and all of a sudden you hear those bushes rattling and hogs go blowing out everywhere. Get on two, coming across right here. Just like you said. He smoked. Talk to me. Gotcha. That pig's done right there. He called him in when we were over this edge. Them hogs are laid up right here. Right there. Hog right here. Get out there on that pig. Big pig. See him? See him? Nope. Lit this one up like a 7-Eleven right here. And they're all down in there. It's probably like, yeah, we came out and then we pounded this one. This one rotated out. There's another color one that went out this way. I mean, right on them. He put us right in the back door, man. That's perfect. You know, you can't beat hunt with Mike. You know, one thing that I'm all about is the ground and pound, getting out there, spotting and stalking on these pigs. And, you know, one thing we talked about, we would stay in that, you know, game. We'd get on the ground, we'd try to, you know, glass these hogs up, make a move in and get a shot. With the weather and the way things were transitioning, he had other sets. We could get a ground blind if we needed to, but most of the time if we could, we're gonna stay on our feet and try to get it done. There it is right there, man. Yeah, that's your, sorry there. Yeah, that's that perfect meat hog, man. We came in here fall, hunted with Mike, blew over a couple good bucks.
Right here, same place.
Exact same spot, just totally different now. That's what I'm trying to get my bearings because everything's greened up. But man, he called it. We got in here, we got on these tracks, probably what, a couple hundred yards back? 300?
Yeah, at least 200.
Man, it took us right in. He called it right off this shelf right here, and those hogs were laid up probably 15 yards. They blew out, and we went to work. We knocked down that hog, and we were sitting there, and you could see this front rolling in, and big old clap of thunder rolled out, and this bird just lit up. One of his Rios just fired off on me. And he looked at me, gave me a look. Mike is a diehard turkey hunter as well. So we ran back to the lodge. We're gonna get on our turkey gear. So we hopped in the rig. We went to another ranch with Mike, and right off the bat, when we got out of the truck, man, birds are gobbling. They're just on fire. It's one of them all-day deals. We set up, made a few calls. Birds were just firing off, coming into us. The only kicker was the big strutter, man. He stayed out about 30 yards and stayed in that thicket with those hens, so it didn't make it happen. But you know, it's one of them things. These birds are gobbling all over the place. He's got a ton of birds. We just kind of sat there, let those filter through. on to the next bird.
North American Whitetail, brought to you by Thompson Center Arms. North American Whitetail, brought to you by Kubota Tractors.
So we cut out across this power line where we had seen, multiple gobblers out there, and we were just kind of going, and Mike hit a call, I hit a call, and all of a sudden, boom, they struck. But they are running to us. It was one of them deals, grab the nearest tree, set up, and get ready. Coming in hot with the flaps up right there, and we got her done. You can't beat being in Texas in the springtime. You got the hog situation, you got the turkeys. We were lucky to, kill us a big Rio. Good old 2-year-old bird right there. Look at that. But the reason we're out here is to help Mike out with the, rifle and the pig. So we're back to the hogs, and we had that weather start rolling in. Everything was kind of getting cooled off, starting to rain here and there. So Mike was like, hey, I got a great ground blind set. Hogs are always working through this bottom and coming up to this feeder. He said, let's sit in there, get you about a 4-hour set, and hopefully get it done that afternoon. With that rain, we figured, the temps are in the 50s right now. Everything should be up on his feet, as y'all saw. He's got the gobblers. They got, probably had 5 of them out there, and that one big bird just rolled in from our right. They're all shooting down this way, but that wind's still howling. We still got about an hour and a half left till we're gonna be out of camera light and game's over, but we'll give it a shot. Swine time right there. We've been in here for about 4 hours. In this grass out here, since fall we came in here and hunted deer. These hogs, you can barely see them. And that one tried to slip the calls right there, and we just put it on him. Dropped him right there dead in his tracks. We got about 30 minutes till it gets dark, and it's a done deal right there. We'll get out of here and go recover him. And what a cool looking pig. He's got it going on out here, man. You get out here and you run all over this place for like 6,000 acres, Came in here fall, keep talking about the deer side of things. Man, he's got some great bucks out here. He manages intensely, and this is part of the game right here. Getting rid of these pigs. They go in here and they do the freak. They drop those babies left and right, and they just start reproducing. Next thing you know, you're covered up in hogs and can't get in here with the tractors and all that with all the ruts. We hear it every year. But man, Mike's got it going on out here, and we're helping the cause. This is good stuff, and all season you can't beat it, man. Burn some powder. Get your scope out, get the bow out, fine tune everything and lay some pigs out. That's good times right here. Good little weather front we had today. Went through a hailstorm. It's cold right now, actually, probably maybe high 40s, but it's rocking right now. This is good stuff. We'll drag him up here. Mike will be here in probably about 15, 20 minutes. Awesome, that's a good day. Like I said, can't beat Mike White out there at First Shot Outfitters. It's one of them deals. I mean, the management side on the whitetails, phenomenal deer hunt, the off-season stuff, the hogs, the turkeys, the quail hunting. He's just done an incredible job on his ranches, and it's a phenomenal hunt, phenomenal outfit, great place to be. I can't thank him enough for having me out there. Looking forward to getting back there this fall and getting it done again. Let's start this whole thing back over.
Stan Gio gets it done down in Texas once again. Couple of nice hogs plus a bonus turkey.
Absolutely. Hey folks, coming up next, Build Your Own Deer Factory. But first, this week's On Target segment. Now, Build Your Own Deer Factory this week is very informative. It's the conclusion of this season's Western Kentucky property.
On Target, brought to you by Nikon.
I tell you what, folks, I truly love this 10-point Stealth SS crossbow. It shoots amazingly. But you know what? With all weapons, you have to have a bit of a preventative maintenance program. Here's some of the things you need to think about with a crossbow. The one thing I suggest is make sure you lube up this string. Now, you do not want to put it on your serving right here. You only want to put it on your string in case it starts to dry or crack. The other thing you need to think about is the lube rail right here. You need to lube it every 100 to 150 shots. You need not restrict this arrow from flying off your straight and accurate. The other factor you need to think about is this Allen wrench. You want to tighten up these screws every chance you get. Make sure everything's good and tight. The accuracy on this crossbow is amazing. They are fun to shoot. Here's a couple things that I'll tell you about the accuracy that might help you out. When you slide your arrow in there, make sure you slide it all the way back till it hits the back wall underneath this bar right here. That can greatly affect that accuracy. The other thing I can tell you is when you get in a ground blind, or set up. If you want to use a model pod, that's great, because what that does, it takes a little weight off the front of it. While you're sitting here waiting for a buck to come in, this weight gets really, really heavy. You can settle in for the shot. The other thing that affects that accuracy is this. You want to make sure that this bow limb is squared. If it's tilted one way or another, you can expect your arrow to fly that direction off the mark. You know, the 10-point crossbow has been a joy for me to shoot. The one thing I like about it, it is a short-range weapon, but it is highly accurate. I can introduce new people to it. I can put it in a kid's hand and they love it. I can put it in an adult's hand and they love it too. They are fun to shoot, very accurate, but just like all weapons, they need a little maintenance. Make sure you take care of that and go have fun with a 10-point crossbow.
North American Whitetail, brought to you by Mossy Oak. North American Whitetail, brought to you by Spot Watcher. Build Your Own Deer Factory, brought to you by Kubota.
Well, Doc, standing here in late August, we're right on the cusp of archery season opening here in Western Kentucky. It's hard to believe where we are now compared to where we started with this farm. Build Your Own Deer Factory. We're down here in Trigg County, Kentucky, and we've partnered with Whitetail Properties, Mark Williams and Stephen French. Can't say enough about those guys.
They've been great.
Yeah, and it's really been a privilege to be able to come out to this property, and you know, they've really let us go to work on this farm. Looking back over the course of our experience here, you know, the first thing that comes to mind, I remember looking at the first aerial photos of this farm and thinking, wow, that is a lot of woods.
A lot of woods.
How critical has it been to create a blueprint for manipulating this timber and managing this timber so that we can get the most out of it?
Well, I was looking forward to getting here because once I looked at aerial photography, I thought, wow, not only is this all woods, but it's all cutover woods.
Right. You know, and that's going to be a crucial aspect to the management program for the landowners here moving forward.
Right.
You know, they're really going to have to pay attention and stay on top of these woods.
Oh, yeah.
To diversify the age structure and really encourage you know, the species they want and discourage the species they don't.
Right. The backbone of any deer management program is habitat, and habitat management, and having a habitat management plan. Now, that's what we did right off the bat, was get together a plan. We've got a forest here that is 6 or 7 years old. It's highly diverse. It can potentially be great, but what we do with those trees and where we do it over the next say 5 to 20 years is going to have a big impact on what ultimately this place looks like as a deer factory.
Yeah, and as we move forward and some of these optimal mass producing species start to get some age on them, you know, there's going to be a lag there before these trees are starting to produce mass. So, you know, it's been great to partner with Chestnut Hill again and come out here and we've been proactive. We've got some orchards implemented here where we're providing pears, persimmons, crab apples, and of course Dunstan chestnuts. Those trees are going to help us fill the gap from now until, you know, when some of these advantageous species, our oak trees and our ash trees, start really producing for the deer.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the big deficiencies of this property for the next 20 years. And by putting those orchards in with a suite of nut and fruit trees that can produce fruits and nuts over a longer period of time of the year, and then doing it appropriately around the property, landscaping for whitetails as we call it, that's going to be critical. And then of course, you know, how we treat the species of trees that are coming up out here and which ones we're selecting, the oak trees, red oaks, the white oaks, the green ash, which is a real good forage producer, and then some of the plants that we don't really want, like elms and sweet gums and hickories. You know, how we manipulate that, that's going to determine what this forest looks like.
Now the other side of the nutritional equation has obviously been supplementation, and we've done that via warm season food plots and banked some of that forage, cool season food plots, as well as supplemental feeding and minerals.
Right. You've got to have a 365 day a year supplementation plan, and that where we're allowed to do it, that includes feeding, that includes minerals, that includes warm season plots, that includes cool season plots. Have all of those things well established around the property so that we are allowing deer to top off the tank for deficiencies that they're not getting at that point in time in the forest.
Yeah, and so ultimately I'm really confident in the plan that we've put forth for providing nutrition for our deer on this property.
Yes.
The other side of the equation is how we're going to hunt it effectively.
Right.
And you know, looking at this property and this country around here in Western Kentucky, there's a lot of topographical variance. And so one of the key steps for us early on was to take a look at the land, inventory the land and the topography, and inventory the deer. Try to figure out how these deer are using this property and how we can hunt it most effectively.
Yeah, landscaping for whitetails is what it's all about. You know, laying out the infrastructure, access routes, all that sort of thing is very important. Then, like you said, that's the habitat part of the three tenets of deer management. We moved the populations. We did a great study with plot watchers around the property. We got a great idea of what's going on out here, which is exactly what I anticipated seeing, and that was, since it was cut over, the forest is growing back, a tremendous amount of food. This is a growing deer herd.
Yeah, so we've got young deer here.
Yes.
And if we can implement a strategy where we're not lopping the top off of our herd, if we can show some restraint as hunters for a few years, that's going to bode really well down the road.
Right. What we got essentially here is, if you remember when we talked about our camera analysis, is we've got a lot of yearling bucks and we got a handful of older bucks. Those handful of older bucks are going to be our sires over the next 3 years, and those yearling bucks are going to be our up-and-comers that are going to be our dominant bucks later in life. How we treat those by not shooting off the top and adjust what's coming up is going to determine the quality of bucks that's going to be here for years to come.
You know, one other aspect that I was really impressed with, particularly on the part of Mark and Steven, is their access strategy. You know, they inherited, they came into a property that had been logged, and there was an existing infrastructure of logging roads. But via those logging roads and fire breaks, they've created a system where they can access any part of this property they want to, when they want to.
Yeah, you go back to the whole concept of landscaping for whitetails. Laying out the infrastructure before you really get going is very, very important.
Last but not least, I think my favorite step in this process was meeting with the neighboring landowners. We got a couple of great guys from Tennessee, Adam and Paul Bates, that purchased 400 acres adjacent to us. One of the key reasons for their decision to buy that farm was that they knew their goals and expectations were in line with Stephen and Mark's goals and expectations. So to be able to sit down with them and talk strategy and see what they've got going on their farm, what we're doing here, that's a huge step in the process.
Neighbors are the key, communication is the key, and to find out that Adam and Paul, their goals and expectations were almost identical to Mark and Steve. And that was really gratifying to hear. And now they can form a core area where they're practicing good, sound deer management, producing older age class bucks, and over time I predict they're going to pull in some more neighbors.
Yeah, so you know, at the end of the day, with all this effort that's come into play here, you know, we've got a really sound management strategy on this farm. It's going to be great to see some really quality bucks be taken off this farm in the future.
I know you have too, but I tell you what, I've really enjoyed this year.
Hey folks, how informative was that for the season, taking a 600-acre piece of property in Western Kentucky and going throughout the season and doing all the steps, step-by-step management of that property.
Yeah, it's a great partnership we've got, Stan, with Whitetail Properties. Great to get out there to Kentucky. Looking forward to next year already. And coming up after the break, Jeremy's going to be talking about multi-use field dogs. So if you've got a waterfowl dog or you've got an upland dog, here are some ways that you can take that dog and build it into a game recovery or shed hunting dog.
North American Whitetail, brought to you by Hornady. North American Whitetail, brought to you by Mossy Oak. Developing your deer dog, brought to you by Conquest Scents.
Hey everyone, Jeremy Moore from Dogbone. In this week's Developing Your Deer Dog segment, I've got Taylor, the Whitetails Unlimited dog, back with me. And it's for a reason. You know, she is obviously the Whitetails Unlimited mascot, and she excels in her deer dog stuff. She tracks, she shed hunts, she's very good at it. But what we also do with Taylor is we use her as an upland dog, we use her for waterfowl, we take her to schools and we work with kids that have autism and different disabilities, and we use her as a therapy dog. Why do we limit these dogs to certain things? I don't think you have to. So if you're at home and you've got a dog and you're thinking, boy, I already have a gun dog or bird dog, do I think I can do some of this deer dog stuff? Or you're thinking about getting a dog and going, what do I got to choose for training here? Do I have to pick one or the other? I'm here to tell you, and she's here to show you. You can do it just about anything with these dogs because the training is so similar and overlaps. You know, there's a lot of segments where we're using training tools
and I'm using training dummies. Well, the drills that we're doing with an antler dummy, you could substitute with a bird dummy and you'd turn it into a gun dog or a bird dog real simple. So the similarities and the overlap in the training allows for us to be very versatile with our dogs if we choose to be. So don't think you have to limit this to one thing or another. And in fact, I think it makes these dogs better hunting dogs all around the more we do with them. So if you've got a dog at home and you're on the fence, I'm here to tell you, and she's here to show you, you certainly can use these dogs as multi-purpose dogs to hunt all sorts of stuff. So for this week's Developing Your Deer Dog, we're talking about multi-purpose dogs.
Stan, very informative segment yet again from Jeremy Moore. It's fascinating to me to watch these dogs work. I've grown up with labs and waterfowl dogs. It's really cool to know you can take a dog like that and turn it into a game recovery dog.
Absolutely. I don't get enough of those dogs. I love watching Jeremy work with the dogs. Folks, thanks for tuning in to North American Whitetail. I can't tell you how much Pat and I and the whole team appreciate you tuning in every week. But remember, every week we're right here and we need you to come back every week. So from all of us here at North American Whitetail, check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll see you then.
Closed captioning for North American Whitetail provided by Hunter's Safety System.